We're on the 36th lesson in Likutey Moharan. Rabbi Nachman says that every single Jew is rooted in Shevi'im Neshamot, actually Nefesh of Yisrael. Why Nefesh? Because the Torah says that when Yaakov Avinu went down to Mitzrayim, it said 70 Nefesh, 70 soul. Doesn't make sense. You can ask Uriah, he knows, it's his first language. True? You don't say 70 soul, Nefesh, you say Nefeshot. Ma Nefesh, what is this? So the Nefesh is because we're all one. And it's not some nice chazal. It's mamish, the Torah says. The Jewish people are all one soul. Okay? We're all one nefesh. Beautiful. Rabbi Nachman then says, did you ever hear that there's 70 faces of the Torah? What's the connection? The connection, Rabbi Nachman says, that every single one of those 70 Jewish souls that represent the archetype for the Jewish people is rooted in, don't get upset yet, we didn't even get to the good stuff yet. Again, you say this again, how many times you're going to start the class the same exact way? I come every week. Sorry.
No, man.
Move on, next lesson, let's go. Okay, so 70 souls, why? Because each of us is rooted in one of the faces of the Torah, which is an amazing thing. Every single Jewish soul is rooted in a gilui of Torah. However, to have a revelation, you need to give birth. How do you give birth? Rabbi Nachman says, cry. The only way you can give birth is to cry. How do we know? Ask your mom. Visit Hashem one day, ask your wife. Amen. Even if you're already married, also ask your wife. It's very important. Say, how was that? What do you mean, how was it? You're the one who made me. No, I'm just kidding. Very painful, no? So here's a very deep thing that Rabbi Nachman's alluding to. And it's based on the teachings of the Arizal and the Eitz Chaim. Jewish children are the physical manifestation of what's called das. Das, in Kabbalah, in Chassidut, is mamish, the felt, experienced revelation of God. But in this physical world, how does that express itself? As another Jewish soul. That's what a Jewish child is. He is a revelation of God's existence. Okay? Very powerful thing. Now, how is that baby given birth to? By the mother crying and pushing. So too, how do you have a revelation of Torah, a new revelation of Torah? So if you're a holy Litvak, they're going to tell you, apply yourself in your learning more. You do have to do that. Okay, I'm not trying to belittle that. You really do have to push yourself. Okay, but beyond that, Rabbi Nachman says it's not enough. You know why? Because the pasuk says all chokhmah comes from God. So you know what Rabbi Nachman did when he didn't understand something in the Torah? And by the way, you should know, I'll give you a lot of chizuk. If you read the beginning of Rabbi Nachman's biography, it was hard for him to understand anything he learned. Very basic things. It was very difficult for him to understand. What did he do when he didn't understand? What do you think? He cried. He went outside to Hashem and he cried. And look where he ended up. Amazing, no? How do you get such gilui, such revelations of God that Rabbi Nachman himself said, my Torah is such a secret that even when I reveal it to you, it remains a secret. Bug out. What are you talking about? I don't know, but I'm so glad he's my Rebbe, okay? How do you get that? A lot of hisbodedus, a lot of crying to God. And you don't even have to go outside to do it. You can mamish, like you're hearing your rabbi talk. Be honest to yourself. You don't have to tell him. Be like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what he's talking about. Right? That happens a lot, no? That's good. Don't just be like this big, strong gever over there. Just start, let a tear come down. You'd be shocked how quickly you understand what he's talking about after that. You're giving birth. Okay? Rabbi Nachman says, but there's something getting in the way of giving birth. It's called 70 birth pangs. Right? Before a woman gives birth, she has to cry 70 times, the Zohar says. That's why there's 70 words in the 20th parak of Tehillim. That whole thing is about being in a tsar, being in a difficult situation. and you're trying to move out of it. We say this specifically right now for these people who are stuck in Gaza, because this is like the archetype of being in the mamish pits of hell. And we cry out 70 words. Why? Those are connected to 70 cries that the Zohar says a woman has to cry for her to give birth. So now that we know that her giving birth is really for us Jewish men to learn how to, we also give birth. We give birth the same exact way. We're not doing it, and that's why we're all going to see therapists, because we're holding in all those tears. Let it out, baby. That's how you get the baby. Baby. That's how you get the baby. Writing notes is good, learning is good, but you know how you have a real gilui of God, a mamish, a revelation of God that you never had before? Cry. Cry. And if you think I'm some liberal sob, try it, and then come and tell me you didn't experience God in a deeper way after. Okay? What's causing you to cry, though? So Rabbi Nachman says there's 70 things that get in the way of you experiencing a new gilui of God. Just 70 things. You ready? Let's start to list them. That way we can leave with tremendous joy going into Shabbos. Ready? Anger. Boom. None of you guys deal with that, right? Okay. Sadness. Very good. Beautiful. Nobody's ever had that here before. Lack of faith. Psh, not relevant. What else? Impatience. Not applicable. Right? Let's go through all 70. No. You could just guess.
I have jealousy.
Jealousy, very good. Desire for honor. What did you say?
Ability to go against through all 70.
Oh, okay, very good.
Wow.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, beautiful. Check that out after Shabbos, not before. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. But Rabbi Nachman gives tremendous chizuk. You know why you deal with them? Because you have a baby inside of you. You have das that is hidden inside of you that you've been waiting to give birth to. But you can't give birth without crying 70 times. But the only way to cry 70 times is to feel 70 birth pangs. What are those birth pangs? These are called the 70 klippas. Every single one of these things is not just an emotional, psychological thing that I deal with. It's just, because my parents screwed me up, or because my family, or because of my history, because I grew up in America, because I grew up secular. That's not why you have these things. Those are the circumstances that Hashem wanted to reveal Torah through you. Where is it coming from? It's coming from the fact that you're holding on to revelation of God. And you know what's going to be around that revelation of God? What's around fruit? A husk, a peel, a klipa. When you see a klipa, you shouldn't say to myself, oh my gosh, here we go again, I'm a loser, I suck, I'm never going to be able to do these things that the Torah speaks about. No! The klipa means there's fruit. That's what the klipa means. You should get excited. You have all 70, you're holding on to 70 pieces of unbelievable fruit. You don't struggle with them? Great, enjoy your life, but guess what? You're also not holding on to a gilui of God for all of us. So okay, that's very beautiful. But I've been struggling with these things my whole life. How do I ever break through even one of them? Rabbi Nachman says, don't worry, I got you. If you can get to the root of anything, it includes all of it which is beneath it. So if you have these 70 things that you struggle with, there is one root of all of it. And if you know what that root is, and you can work through that one root, you will diminish the intensity, the difficulty of breaking through all 70. Wow. What's the one thing? Anybody who's learned any Rabbi Nachman's teachings before knows. Shmir with the Brit. Easy schmeezy, right? Everybody have a good night. No, just kidding. Shmir with the Brit. And don't worry, it's not just what you think it is, not masturbating. It's also your eyes, also your ears, also your nose. Also, you keeping the mitzvot is also the Brit. What's the gematria Brit? 612. What's the gematria of all the mitzvahs? 613, Taryag. What's 612 plus the kolel? Brit plus 1, which is a part of it, is 613. Why? Because Rabbi Nachman says that for you to keep the Brit, you need to keep the mitzvahs. Oh my gosh, you mean you have to get up for Shachris in the morning? It's so hard! But you should know when you do it, you're shmir at the Brit. Give you a lot of chizuk. He's like, oh yeah, I'm getting up tomorrow. I'm getting up tomorrow. Okay? There's many levels of Shmirat Brit. So this should be comforting us, but you're making it more overwhelming for me. It's not just not wasting seed. It's not just not looking at girls. It's like all these other things. Yes. Okay, so Rabbi Nachman says, don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I have the tikun. You ready for tikun? Very practical. L'maisa. A thought pops in your head that's not about your spouse, or even is about your spouse, but it's not in the proper time. Or you're not married, and you're just walking down the streets of Tel Aviv. What? I saw you there? No, it wasn't you? Okay. You're just walking through the streets of Haifa, Yerushalayim, Elad, right? And all of a sudden your eyes wander a little bit. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, right? Never happened to you. Or you're by yourself. And literally out of nowhere, something just like pops into your head, like, oh my gosh. And it grips you. And it's so hard to stop thinking about it. What do? Rabbi Nachman says, close your eyes, hold on tight, and say Shema Yisrael with as much kavanah as you can. Why does that help you?
Moharan says that.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Can you tell the whole world that everything that Rabbi Nachman says is in Shas? Of course he does, yeah. But can you tell everybody so they know that he doesn't make these things up? All the sources they love, it's right there. But he says why? Why does it help people? Why does it help?
Because of the 12 tribes that are the 12 letters. No, sorry, the 12 words, which is the 70 letters and the
49 letters.
Sorry,
49 letters of the 49, right? Of the 12 tribes, all their names, right? So there's 12 words in Shema. There's 6 in Shema Yisrael. There's 6 in Baruch Hashem. 12 altogether. What is those 12 keneged? The 12 shvatim. Now, what did Rabbi Nachman teach us? All 12 shvatim were rooted in those 12 shvatim, right? That's our shorish. Who are those 12 shvatim giving birth to? Those 70 souls that went down to Mitzrayim. Right. Yaakov Avinu. Very good. Now, how many letters are in Shema Yisrael, those first 2 lines? 49 letters. How many letters are there in the 12 tribes? If you count Reuben, Shimon, Levi through, 49 letters. So now Rabbi Nachman is teaching us a very deep thing. This is what we learned at the end of last week. It's not just some thought is popping into your head. It's not just some emotion is gripping you. You have been accosted by a prostitute. Her name is the mother of Ereva. This is what Rabbi Nachman says. I would try to sweeten it up and make it really nice and marshmallowy for you. But since this is a review, I'm just going to give it to you straight, okay? There's actually a negative force which has taken hold of you. She is the Ima of the Erev Rav. Now, when you think about Erev Rav, you think about all of those rabbis that you hear that are talking about politics, and they're saying, oh, the liberal Jews, they're all the Erev Rav. So Rabbi Nachman says it's not the Erev Rav. The Erev Rav are not people. The Erev Rav are the parts of you that are holding you back from experiencing God. And they're attaching themselves to you, just like they attached themselves to Moshe when he left. Why? Because they're looking for tikun. They're looking for tikun. But there's a mother who gave birth to all those souls. Her name is Lily. And in Kabbalah, she is the female expression of the Satan. And we spoke about this last week. When you go to sleep and you have a dream at night, and if you happen to have a dream of a woman, and that woman makes you feel a certain way, and when you wake up in your bed, you see that there has been some happenstance that has taken place. And you say, oh my gosh, what the heck happened? What is that? So Rabbi Nachman says, Lily is that. Lily is this woman that hopefully you'll never see your whole life. That's why I brought you to Uman before you turn 7. You should know. Rabbi Nachman says, if you bring your son to me before he turns 7 years old, I promise I will bring him to the chuppah without that pagam, without that chet. Okay? He doesn't say what that chet is, but I'm praying to God it's this one, okay? Bezrat Hashem, and I had the schut of bringing my son the first time he ever went to Uman was Shabbos Chanukah when he was 6 years old, right before he turned 7. Bezrat Hashem, he'll get married early with the total shleimut of the Brit. And that way your sword of tefillah is mamish like the sword of Mashiach, that he's just going to take over the whole world. Just throw all our enemies away from us. Bring Geula. And when people say to you, where's your weapon? Tell them, right here, baby. Super sharp. Okay? But this woman, Lily, comes sometimes. How do you know? When you have those dreams. That's her. Now here's a very deep thing that you should know. She is only to bring you to her husband.
What's that?
The Satan.
Saba.
Saba. Oh, Samich Mem. I think he said Saba. Yeah, I was like, you know him very well. Okay, the Samich Mem. Who is the Samich Mem then? I thought that was that thing. The Samich Mem is not the one who's causing me to be Pagama Brit. Oh my gosh, what is he doing? I thought he's like the final boss in the video game. So what does Rabbi Nachman say that the Yetzer Hara wants you to fall into more than anything? Yeush, hopelessness. So Rabbi Nachman says like this. His wife comes to get you to become Pagama Brit. And then right after that, she then hands you over to her husband to cause you to go into Yeush. Nice, right? Great tag team.
Sounds like the Yeush was even worse than the...
It is, that's the whole point.
Wow.
That's why Rabbi Nachman said.
Wow.
When his students came to him and said, all you talk about is tikun bris. Oh my gosh, that's all I want, and yet I can't stop myself. Rabbi Nachman said, no, so what? Start over again. Then what do you mean, no, so what? You just taught, every single lesson you taught me is like, if you don't do this, you don't have this. If you don't do this, you don't have this. If you don't do this, you can't have money. If you don't do this, you can't stay married. If you can't do this, you can't find your zivug. If you can't do this, you can't pray effectively. If you can't do this, you can't understand Torah. And they came to him and said, well, sounds pretty hopeless, no? Rabbi Nachman says, that's the biggest mistake you can make. The biggest mistake you can make is to let yourself feel hopeless. That's the whole point of that whole experience. It's not for the experience itself. It's to get you afterwards to feel hopeless. Very, very simple. Right after that thing happens, do you want to go wrap tefillin after that? No, you feel horrible. You might even miss the day because you said, how can I possibly wrap tefillin after I did that thing? It's like spitting in God's face. That's the trick of the Yetzer Hara. Rabbi Nachman says, that's how you get him. Tell him, I'm not going there with you. You had me do this, okay, you brought me your wife. She's pretty nasty, okay, not easy, but she's not going to bring me to you. I'm going to go wrap tefillin to spite you. Don't give up. Rabbi Nachman says,
being besimcha afterwards is even like the greatest azukani.
it's the greatest thing you can do.
Even if you screw up.
Yes, not even. You need to. That's the whole point. You must be happy at that
You
time.
convince yourself that you're happy.
You have to convince, even if you feel terrible,
And you feel like you're cheating yourself. Like
you feel like you're cheating yourself, you're like, I'm a fraud.
I'm a fraud.
I'm a fraud.
Oh. And you still be happy.
You have to, because you have to remind yourself. The Pagama Brit is not what he wants. He wants atzvut. That's what he wants. That's the whole reason that he got me to become Pagama Brit.
It's just really easy to get you on the first part. Or easier.
It's easier to get you on the first part, and once he gets you to that part, it's easy to get you to atzvut. He can't just get you to atzvut. So he brings you to Pagama Brit. But once that happens, you need to know the whole reason is to get you to atzvut. That's the whole cause. Wants you to get to atzvut.
Wait, so what is the source of the 70 pains? Is it the like Shmir Brit, or it's the second one, the Atzma?
So
Or it's the actual source?
Brit, the Pagama Brit, Taibut Niut, what Rabbi Nachman says is desire for sex, is the source of all of these 70.
But based on what everybody's saying, it sounds like the Atzma is the real source of it, because that's really what it's leading to. No?
What do all those 70 things make you feel? Bad. What do you call bad?
Sad.
Atzvut. Sad. All of these 70 clippers are to get you to feel sad. The root of it. To get you to feel sad. Just like Lily, she's the wife, right? So she's out in the front. So too, the Brit, she's out in the front. It's the source and root and everything. But there's always a hidden root, which is above the revealed root. So the revealed root of the 70 faces, or in this case, what's blocking the 70 faces of Torah, these 70 klippas, is the Brit. But hiding behind the Brit is her husband. Atzvut.
So what's worse, Kalmus or Yesh?
Yeush is the worst.
Worse than Pagama.
Worse than Pagama Bris.
Gives him koch. Gives the Malchamalas koch.
That's all he wants is Yeush. That's what he wants. He wants you to give up. What do we say a Jew is? Yisrael is that you fight with God, you fight with man. Does that mean you fight and you're always successful? No. Obviously, you see that fight is a lifelong fight. It's a difficult fight. Sometimes you're up, a lot of times you're down. How does Yaakov Avinu become Yisrael? Tuchal, because you overcome. What does it mean to overcome? You don't give up. That's what it means to be a Jew, that you don't give up. There is no Yeush. King David says, if a knife is on your neck, usser, you're not allowed to give up hope. What are you talking about? There's a knife on my neck. The guy's about to slaughter me. You're not allowed to. Usser, you're not allowed to. Why? Because this is what makes you a Jew, that there's always hope. To believe in God is to have hope. These two things are synonymous.
So which one should we work on first?
Rabbi Nachman says you should work on the Brit.
Wouldn't it be more productive to first work on?
It's Rabbi Nachman says when you work on the Brit, everything else becomes easier.
Rabbi Nachman says the encouragement of it is
If you're Besimcha, you have many other principles.
Yes. So in Sichot Aran, Rabbi Nachman says that if a person's happy, Hashem himself will guard your Brit. However, when you go through Likutey Moharan, and even when you go through Sichot Aran, he also says that Simcha is the highest possible Madrega. And it's very difficult to acquire. So
It's not black and white.
I understand. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. There's levels of joy. There's the joy that I have to help myself get into, right? So that I don't go to Atzvut. And then there's real joy, which is a lifelong worth of work. Okay? Rabbi Nachman says, when you're happy, Hashem himself will guard your Brit. What level of joy is that? Probably a higher level of joy, right? How do you get to that level of joy? You have to start by just forcing yourself to be happy, knowing that at least there is this tzaddik who told you there's no reason for you to give up. You just start over again, no matter how many times. Rabbi Nachman said, even if he actually said to his students, you guys see me, right? You know that I'm a tzaddik gamor. He literally said this. You know that I'm a perfect tzaddik. You know this. He said, even if I did something that caused me to go to Gehenna, he said I would be a tzaddik after, just like I was a tzaddik before. Except after I would have done tshuva. That was the only difference. If I would have done this mistake, I still would see the tzaddik after. It just would have been preceded by tshuva. That's it. You just start over again. You do tshuva. Okay? Rabbi Nachman says that when you close your eyes and you say Shema, you remove Lily from you. Why? Because Lily is coming from the place of Tumah. How do I what mechanism do I have to quickly transport myself into Kedusha? Says you need to go into a mikvah. So if you have a mikvah right next to you, just jump in. Okay? But if you don't, mikvah and da'at. What's the mikvah and da'at? So Rabbi Nachman says when you close your eyes and you say Shema, you're literally jumping into a mental mikvah. You're putting your head into a mikvah. Because that 12 tribes is the place of all Kedusha. And what's that place? That's the water of the mikvah. Close your eyes and say Shema, you're in the mikvah. And if you really mean it when you say Shema Yisrael, you'll see she'll leave you. But then Rabbi Nachman comes and he says this, and with this will end. But this thing that I'm telling you that it's a tikun, when you say Shema, when you have this taiva come over you, that's only when it happens sometimes. Irregularly. It's not your normative state of being. You're not living in 2024. You don't have a smartphone. This is for people, that just sometimes it happens. Like when Rabbi Nachman came into his friend's house and his wife served them coffee and tea, and she's dressed unbelievably modestly, with tremendous niyut, in 1800s, in Hasidic Ukraine. And he sees this person's wife as she comes in with tea and coffee, and he stands up and he goes, Nisayon! And then he sat back down and he goes, you hear about the sports game last night? That was crazy, huh? Like, what was it? Oh no, sorry, it's just my thing. For Rabbi Nachman, that was a big nisayon. It's for him. So he could just say Shema, and that thing that pops in just goes away right away. But Nebach us, that these things are happening more often than that. Comes Rabbi Nachman and say, don't worry, I got you too. You ready? It's very similar. Azai dai lo ba'amirat shnei pasukim. It's not enough now to say those two pasukim. Aval im hu chas v'shalom ragil behura shel tava aklaliut. If you're accustomed to having this taiva often, it's a regular thing for you. Rachmana litzlan. Ve'enu yachol la'afri mimena, and you cannot separate from this crazy prostitute. She is over you all the time. Azai tzarich gam ken lo'arid dima'ot b'sha'at kabbalat malchut shamayim. Then when you say Shema, you also have to cry. And if you cry tears while you say Shema, then you know what happens? Shedima'ot heim emotarot hamar shechura. Umar shechura hi tachol. She bechina malchut hasha'a isha zona. Shemisham nishmoteim de erevav. Amazing thing Rabbi Nachman saying. Based on Tikuni Zohar, where does depression and sadness come from? It comes from the spleen. It comes from the spleen. Now we spoke about this in last class. You have different systems in your body. You have the respiratory system. You have the immune system. You have what's called the lymphatic system. In the lymphatic system, you have the parts of your body which are looking to clean out bacteria. One of your main organs for doing that is your spleen. Your spleen cleans out the blood. And whatever is bacterial there, or let's say you have some type of cell that's extracurricular, which might lead to something very dangerous. When your spleen is functioning normally, your takul, you are able to clean it out. Okay? Now Rabbi Nachman says, where does sadness come from? Sadness comes from turbidity of the blood. What does that mean? It means that your dam is filled with a lot of stuyot. Means something's going on with your spleen. Your spleen is supposed to be cleaning that out. What is it cleaning it out of?
What is turbidity?
Turbidity means that there is like your blood is not pure. There's there's extracurricular stuff in your blood going on. Okay? It's called the excess. Excess that's supposed to go away. Now Rabbi Nachman teaches elsewhere in Likutey. Guess where all depression comes from? Crazy thing. Ask any therapist, they'll tell you something different. Comes Rabbi Nachman says, you know where depression really comes from? Depression comes from motarot, excess. What excess? There's something excessive in your blood. How do you take out something excessive from your blood? Rabbi Nachman says, when you cry. Because tears come from your spleen. They're the excess of your spleen. Yes. The excess of your spleen manifests as tears. So when you cry, you're taking out the excess of your spleen, which is the place of sadness, which is the cause of the erevav, the lily coming onto you. So when you close your eyes and you say Shema, and you're a big tzaddik, it's enough. You know why? Because your blood is clean. But if you're everybody else, so then you need to remove the excess. How do you do that? Tears.
And you gotta fake it till they make it kind of thing?
You can fake it till you make it. Rabbi Nachman says in Sichot Haran, for you to achieve any level, any Madrega in Kedusha, you first have to fake it. You first have to act as if.
It's a force of it.
Yeah.
But doesn't he say somewhere else about not forcing yourself to cry?
He says that when you're praying around people, you shouldn't force yourself to cry and jerk your head around, do all these things, because you're not being honest when you pray.
Right, that's another.
That's a different
You
thing.
fake it in like Hebrew, that's more like it's more.
That's called being inauthentic.
Real-
Also, just
real
about
authentic
crying.
fake. Good fake.
A fake cry is not necessarily healthy.
So we'll have to see that inside. From what I remember it in.
I remember that also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look it in. But Rabbi Nachman says that you have to try to your very best to do what you can, even though you're not holding there yet. Whether it's in Amunah, whether it's in Torah, whether it's in Tzidkut, whether it's in being able to cry. Okay. But this thing, which is the sadness, the excess in your spleen, this is called the Malchut Rasha'ah. This is called the evil kingdom. This is the 2,000-year exile that we're in. In Tikun Zohar, it says that the 4 types of damages in Bava Kama, what's the 4th one? It's called the bore. It's called the pit. Tikun Zohar says, you know what the bore is? The Isha Zona. Oh my gosh. It's this freaking woman. She is the bore. You know what this 2,000-year exile is? It's the exile of depression, of sadness, of atzvut. That's why Rabbi Nachman says, mitzvah gedolah liot b'simcha tamid. Do you know why? Because that's how you have geula. But where is she coming from? She's coming from this woman who's the prostitute, is accosting you. Ushemori dimaot, but when you draw down tears, azai nidchin v'yotzin lechutz amotarot, then the excess splits out of your spleen and leaves through your eyes. Hainu tavot niuf, meaning your desire for sex literally comes through your tears, and you will notice that after you cry, you feel much more relaxed. Whatever was afflicting you before that, whether that's stress, or whether that's sadness, or whether that's anger, or whether that's confusion, or even whether that's taiva, you'll see that right after you have a good cry, all of your taivas diminish. Now you'll say why? Because they'll say stress relief, endorphins, so it's true physically. But spiritually, what's taking place? You're literally removing the source of your taiva through the tears that are coming out of your eyes. Uklal nishmato b'malchut shamayim, and you encompass yourself within the kingdom of heaven. V'zeh shetirgam Yonatan al pasuk, and this is what it says: V'hem bochim batach ohel moed. It says Moshe Rabbeinu was crying by the Ohel Moed. Why was he crying? Because you had this whole issue with Zimri and Cosby. No, Moshe was crying with the Jewish people by the Ohel Moed. Why was he crying? Because he forgot the halacha. He didn't know what to do in the case of Zimri, that he was sleeping with this Midianite woman. He's not allowed to. The Chazal say that he came to Moshe and said, "No, what are you going to say? You married a Midianite. How are you going to tell me it's not good?" And Moshe didn't know how to respond. He forgot the halacha. So he literally started crying by the Ohel Moed. Because why? Where does Revelation to Torah come from? Crying. He wasn't crying from Yeyus. He was crying so he can get a gilui of Torah, so he can know the halacha. But thank God he had Pinchas waiting for him. Eliyahu Hanavi knows exactly what to do. Murk that guy. Murk him out. Pinchas came to the rescue, okay? But that's why they were crying there. B'chayin v'korin et Shema, and you want to hear something amazing. Targum Yonatan says, what were they doing crying over there? They were crying and saying, Shema Yisrael. Oh my gosh, unbelievable. We get to see something 1,000 years later. Why are they crying and say Shema? It's so random. Because they know that the source of Taivut Niuf,
They're trying to fight it.
they're fighting it. They know what they're doing. Moshe knows exactly what he has them doing. They're saying Shema and they're crying. Why? Because the Shema is the Mikvah. And the tears are removing all of the excess. It's that thing that you hold, that non-kosher animal you bring in the mikveh with you, that even if you're all the way sunk into it, you're still not pure from it. You need to let go of that thing. What's that thing? It's coming out through the tears. And then you say Shema. And this is done, can't be done except through being saved from the hirur, this thought, this fantasy you have of the Isha Zona who has accosted you. But remember this. She is the peel before the fruit. She's your worst enemy and she's your best friend. She's not something to be scared of. When she comes to you, get excited, but not in that way. Get excited in a different way. Because if she doesn't accost you, guess what? You have no new gilui of Torah coming your way either. But if she does accost you, that means that Hashem has fruit waiting for you. So gird your loins, close your eyes, and say Shema with as much fervor as you can. V'lavo ikalut Torah, and you're going to come to a revelation of Torah. And I'll finish with this. You'll notice that when Yaakov and Yosef, they reunite after all that time, what do? They hug each other. Yaakov Avinu says Shema Yisrael, and Yosef Atzadik cries. Ma pitom. What is
Joint
this?
forces.
The Zohar says that Yaakov and Yosef are one. That if you see the 4 letters of Hashem's name, you have a Yud corresponding to Abraham, you have the Hey corresponding to Yitzchak, you have the Vav corresponding to Yaakov, and we have the final Hey corresponding to David, Mashiach, Malchut. Where's Yosef? So you can't spell Vav without another Vav. The big Vav is Yaakov Avinu, the Zohar says, and the small Vav is Yosef. They're one. So what's going on? They're fighting this force of exile that they know is going to be in power for 2,000 years and is going to be the cause of the Beit HaMikdash not being rebuilt. They join forces. Yaakov Avinu says Shema. Yosef cries. And together, they get us out of this bore, out of this pit. Bezrat Hashem, we should know that when this thing comes on us, you should feel empowered. Don't get upset. Don't say, why me? Say, Gilui HaTorah. Gilui HaTorah. It's coming through me right now. Just close your freaking eyes and say Shema as hard as you can. And maybe if you realize how hard this is and it's not going anywhere, mamish, just think about how this has been afflicting you for so long. Maybe you'll even cry. And if you do both together, you will be saved from the Isha Zona and you'll give the Jewish people the power to do the same. Everybody have a good Shabbos.